"You're not my brother," he said, the snow catching in his lashes like frost on broken glass. Good, because I didn't need a brother, I needed him to kiss me before the truth shattered both of us. I was 18 the first time I saw real snow. It fell over New York like a whispered confession, quiet, soft, beautiful, and completely wrong for the way my heart was beating. I had come from Alabama with 2 suitcases and a scholarship to the New York Academy of Art. The city was loud, cold, alive, everything I wasn't. Until I met Julian Bell, my drawing instructor. Julian wasn't like the other teachers. He didn't correct with red ink. He didn't smirk when I said I was an omega from a small southern town. He saw things, shadows in my line work, tremors in my colors, and he said nothing, just nodded, like he already knew me. He was the only person who looked me in the eye and didn't ask about my parents, my heat suppressants, or why I never went to the dorm mixers. He asked about light, perspective, emotion. I wanted to be his best student. Then I wanted to be his favorite person. And somewhere, somehow, I wanted him to want me the way I couldn't stop wanting him. Julian was an alpha. Everyone knew that, but he never threw it around. He smelled like cedar, turpentine, and cloves, and it made my knees weak when he got too close. Still, he kept his distance. Professional, polite, until that night. The snow was falling harder when I stayed late in the studio. My final piece wasn't finished, an abstract of 2 male figures reaching toward each other, hands almost touching. I hadn't slept. My fingers ached, and I knew it wasn't just about the assignment anymore. Julian came in without knocking. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, watching me smudge charcoal across a canvas like I could make sense of the mess in my chest. "You shouldn't be here this late," he said finally. "I couldn't leave it unfinished," I murmured. He stepped forward. The snow was melting in his hair. His coat was still on. "This isn't about the assignment," he said. I froze. "What do you mean?" "You draw the same hands in every piece." "My hands?" My breath hitched. You're not subtle, Aiden." I wasn't trying to be. A long silence. The kind that expands in your ribcage and presses on things you didn't know were fragile. Then, his voice. Low, ragged, unsteady. "I can't be your brother, Aiden." Something inside me snapped. "I never wanted you to be." That was the first time he kissed me. Not a gentle kiss. Not a patient one. A kiss like he'd been drowning in denial and finally came up for air. It didn't last. He pulled back. His eyes were burning. "This isn't right. I'm your teacher. I'm not a child. You're still my student. Then I'll drop out." "Don't say things like that." "Why not? You said you can't be my brother." "Fine. I'm telling you, I never wanted family, I wanted you." Julian looked like I'd punched him. Then he turned and walked out, the snow swallowing his footsteps before I could follow. He avoided me for weeks. I finished my final piece. I passed the class. But he wouldn't look at me, wouldn't speak. I was just another name on a roster. The cold grew heavier. So did my chest. I tried dating other people. Betas, omegas. But nothing stuck. Because none of them were him. One day, after an unbearable critique session, I broke. "You don't get to pretend that night didn't happen," I said, cornering him after class. His jaw clenched. "It can't happen again." "Why not?" "Because I'm your alpha. You said you can't be my brother. You're not my guardian. You're not my anything unless you choose to be." He looked at me like I'd cracked the sky. Then, quietly, "You're on suppressants. So, I can't tell if this is real or if your body's been muted for so long you've forgotten how to feel." I stepped closer. "I haven't forgotten anything, especially not that kiss." He didn't move, didn't speak. But I knew he wanted me to. My heat came 2 weeks later. Not just inconvenient, dangerous. Something about the city, the stress, the suppression pills I skipped on purpose. I was alone in my apartment, shaking, burning, breathless. And then he knocked. I don't know how he knew, but he was there. Julian pushed open the door like a storm. He barely looked at me before stripping off his coat and crossing the room. "You should have called someone," he said, voice thick with restraint. I did, I whispered. He stared. Me? You're the only one I trust. Something in him broke then. He pulled me into his arms and held me while I shook my forehead against his chest, our sense tangling. He didn't move to claim me. He didn't ask for more. He just held me, and I cried, because I'd never been held like that by anyone. We didn't sleep together that night. Not in that way. But it changed everything. He stopped being my professor after the semester ended. I transferred to a different studio. He left the school soon after. We saw each other again in spring. Not in secret. Not in shame. On a park bench under a cherry tree, where the last petals fell like snow, he kissed me again. You're still not my brother, he said softly. And you're finally mine, I whispered back. Years later, we opened a gallery together. Our first show? Hands that almost touched. My painting hung in the center. The same one from that snowy night. Only now the hands weren't almost touching. They were holding each other openly, honestly, permanently. Because in a city of broken silences and forbidden glances, we had found something worth keeping. And under that first snow, we chose not to be family. We chose love. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.